Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 3 Legend of the Dragon King Part 80 based on novel. So let's start. Feng Wuyu pinched his lips so tight they seemed to disappear into his face. You mean that kid Mu Chen? What kind of dog shit luck does he have to snatch you as a disciple? This didn't sit well with Tang Wulin, prompting a strained frown. I'm the one who's lucky enough to study under him. I still have another teacher as well, Teacher Mang Tian. It was only thanks to their guidance that I am here today. Someone like you, the president of Shrek Blacksmiths Association, shouldn't be asking me to betray my teachers. Feng Wuyu was at a loss for words. Betraying them isn't that serious. That kid Mu Chen is pretty good at forging, but his strength is a bit lacking. He barely managed to break through as a Soul Dolor, and that was with external help. He isn't even a title Dolor. It's damn near impossible for him to become a divine blacksmith, but me? I'm different. My cultivation base puts his to shame. See for yourself. As the last word left his lips, a red aura permeated the air from which Feng Wuyu stood, the temperature in the room surging several degrees. All this through the exertion of his soul power. Tang Wulin felt as if he'd been tossed into a furnace, taking a few steps back out of reflex. At the same time, he urged his blood essence to protect him from the inferno. But it still wouldn't have prepared him for what was coming next, his pupils dilating from shock. Ring after ring rose from beneath Feng Wuyu, surrounding him like blinding stars in a spiraling nebula. Purple, 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 black, 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 and red. He has 9 soul rings. He actually has 9. He even has a red one. From his soul ring configuration, he shouldn't be any weaker than Elder CAI. Never had it struck Tang Wulin that the person who abducted him would be a title Dolor. And it wasn't an exaggeration to call him exceptional among this group either. If he counted his grand teacher, then Shrek Academy already boasted at least 3 title Duluos. It blew his mind to think he met so many, all who had unimaginable soul ring configurations. In tandem with his materializing soul rings, Feng Wuyu's body grew a bit fuller, a bit wider, but otherwise not disturbing his overall appearance. Tang Wulin couldn't recognize his martial soul. This was the strength of a title Dolor, total control on how much of the martial soul was revealed. Take a good look. Aren't I powerful? No matter where you go on the continent, no one will dare cross you if you become my disciple. And if anyone does touch a hair on your head, I'll burn them to ashes. There was a fire blazing in Feng Wuyu's eyes. This guy isn't normal at all. Tang Wulin laughed in his heart. Nevertheless, he did not immediately reject the offer. After witnessing Guyu's dealings with Elder CAI, he had learned better. Any response he gave had to be nuanced and tactful. Senior, you are too great. However, I cannot forsake my teachers for your strength. If I'm willing to betray them today, then wouldn't that make me capable of betraying you in the future? That's impossible. You won't ever meet a blacksmith better than me. At the very least, not one who's more powerful. Feng Wuyu's eyes caught a glazed look, mind wandering the universe, before snapping back into the present. Even that guy's cultivation base isn't as good as mine. It was as if the words were pilfered out of his mouth, and Tang Wulin could not summon any more in the face of such a demanding person. All right, how about this? Next time I receive lessons from my teacher, I'll ask if he agrees with you guiding me as well. And if he does, I'll have no objections. Is that fine? I'll also accept joining this Blacksmiths Association for now. In any case, I'll be spending a lot of time on campus, so you won't have to worry about me disappearing, right? Feng Wuyu scratched his head as he mulled it over. Okay. Fine. You're such a troublesome kid. But like they say, the able ones cause all the trouble, just like how others always say I'm causing always trouble. Senior, can I go then? Tang Wulin probed. Feng Wuyu waved his hand dismissively. Go on, leave. But don't forget, you can't join any other association. Got it. If anyone tries to lure me into their association, should I make use of your name? Feng Wuyu's glare was hot enough to melt butter. Of course you should. No one would dare steal you from me. Tang Wulin returned to the forging table, grabbing the 2 pieces of meteoric iron and moving them into his storage ring. The metals were a dusky gold, speckles of light twinkling over the surface, reminiscent of the night sky. He made off with quite a profit this time. Didn't Yuan say the Academy can sell things on our behalf? I'll bet these 2 chunks of meteoric iron are worth a lot. I won't have to worry about my meals for a while. I'll come find you later. Feng Wuyu shouted at Tang Wulin's retreating figure, throwing his thoughts asunder and causing him to stumble. With his back to the room, Tang Wulin was surprised to find himself on one of the upper levels of the school building. He patted his chest a few times to settle his heartbeat. For Tang Wulin, Feng Wuyu was an enigmatic puzzle and facing him had been terrifying. He was lucky, pure and simple, to catch the fancy of a saint blacksmith. That said, he couldn't shake off the tendrils of doubt clinging to his body. He's a 9-ring title d'Or. I wonder what's his title. I need to go ask a teacher about it later. Still unfamiliar with the layout of the school building, Tang Wulin took some time to find the stairs. As he descended, he ran into Yuan. I've been looking for you for half a day now, and you're here just as I thought. Are you all right? Yuan asked. Tang Wulin nodded. I'm fine. Yuan's eyes drifted toward Tang Wulin's chest. You've joined the Blacksmiths Association? At his inquiry, Tang Wulin followed Yuan's gaze to his chest. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he saw a crude-looking badge depicting a black hammer. Without a doubt, it was what Feng Wuyu had forced upon him. I guess you could say so. Tang Wulin forced a smile out. You're pretty lucky to have Elder Feng personally recruit you. You must be quite the blacksmith. Yuan nodded in approval and heaved a sigh of relief. Mad Elder, one? A twitch of Tang Wulin's lips. That guy really is crazy. Well, there's no need to leave now. The Blacksmiths Association is based here on the 4th floor. You can use the forging tables for free since you're a member, but you'll still have to provide your own metal for forging. Huh? So the Blacksmiths Association is on this floor. Can you take me to it? Ever since he had stepped foot in Shrek City, Tang Wulin had craved for a forging table to call his own. Especially so now that he was a 5th-rank blacksmith. The workshop Feng Wuyu had taken him to was at the edge of the 4th floor, tucked deep within winding corridors and the such. Yuan led him elsewhere, back straight and proper, brimming with confidence. They arrived at the foot of a large sign shortly after. Blacksmiths Association. The words were written with an air of grandeur. He pushed the door open and entered. The first thing he saw was a counter stretching over 20 meters long, with more than 15 windows for helping visitors. At the moment, 3 staff members with youthful appearances sat behind the windows. They were likely students as well. Yuan spoke softly. It's quiet right now because it's lunchtime, but once that's over this place will be bustling. The Blacksmiths Association is very popular because even though there are so few blacksmiths in Shrek, the demand for their forging is off the charts. Hearing these words, Tang Wulin's heart thumped. In a flash, he was in front of one of the windows. Hello, I'm a new student and my name is Tang Wulin. I just joined the Blacksmiths Association. Elder Feng gave me this badge. He pointed to his chest. I was wondering if there is anything else I need to do. A young man, about 18 years old, glanced at the badge from behind the window. At the sight of it, he asked, Elder Feng personally recruited you? Yes. Tang Wulin said. All right. Do you have a blacksmith's badge? I'll begin your registration. In case you're not aware, Shrek Blacksmiths Association goes by rules similar to those governing other blacksmiths associations across the continent. The clerk glanced at the badge in Tang Wulin's hand as he continued his explanation. The greater the blacksmith, the greater their authority. It was an orange badge with 4 yellow stars on it. This badge's color scheme. He's a 4th-rank blacksmith? Although 4th-rank blacksmiths weren't too hard to find at Shrek Academy, He hadn't encountered one this young before. The average age of Shrek Blacksmiths Association members trended higher than those of other campus associations. After all, blacksmithing required a long accumulation of experience and a lengthy sharpening of skill. When Tang Wulin had first stepped foot into the room, the clerk was intrigued. When the 4th rank badge came into the picture, he was astounded. "Is that real?" Trembling hands took hold of the badge, slipping it into a tiny slot on the identification device. A detailed record of the owner's personal information would be swiftly retrieved, regardless of their profession. Tang Wulin. Male. Born in Glorybound City. Member of East Seed Blacksmiths Association. F4th rank blacksmith. 2nd place winner of the Junior Division Blacksmithing Tournament, Sky Sea Alliance Tournament. Total number of completed forging missions. His voice dipped lower and lower as Tang Wulin's picture flashed on the screen, confirming his identity. The clerk didn't doubt who he was. It was impossible to fabricate the information on the badge. Not to mention, counterfeits were so easy to expose that it wasn't worth the time making them. Meanwhile, Yuan was frozen by Tang Wulin's side. He's a 4th rank blacksmith? He'd guessed Tang Wulin was talented, judging by how Feng Wuyu had personally recruited him, but never had he imagined the youth sported such a high rank. 4th rank professionals were rare in the 4th grade, not to mention the 1st grade. People of such caliber only became common in the 5th and 6th grades. "I've found a treasure." Since he's a 4th rank blacksmith, he has to be capable of 2nd grade 1000 refining at the very least. "Here's your badge back," the young man said, his tone clearly more polite than before. As a fellow blacksmith, he understood better than Yuan and the unprecedented genius a 13-year-old 4th rank blacksmith represented, how much it shook the foundations of blacksmithing history. Perhaps the academy bent the rules and made an exception in order to recruit him for his rich talent. "You're a working student?" the young man asked. Tang Wulin nodded. The clerk held his stare and something flashed within his eyes, something close to understanding. "I'll explain how the pay works here. Since the badge you got says you're a 4th rank blacksmith, you'll receive 2,000 points a month and access to a private 20 square meter workshop. That's suitable for your rank, and will be upgraded as your rank advances. Also, the association will provide you with 10 chunks of metal each month to use as you wish, and an 8% discount when purchasing additional metal from the association. You can also get a job with the association. If you want the association to sell products on your behalf, then you've got to relinquish 5% as a fee. Obviously, the rest will go to you. In exchange for all these benefits, you must complete 3 jobs each month. Of course, the 3 jobs will be suitable for your rank. Last but not least, if you run into any problems, please don't hesitate to come by the association for assistance. There are so many benefits for joining. Throughout his path to becoming a blacksmith, Tang Wulin had stumbled upon many an impenetrable mountain along the way, and only now had he tasted the sweet fruits born of his labor. No matter where, blacksmiths would always be in high demand, as evident by the benefits offered by Shrek Blacksmiths Association. "I'd like to accept some jobs. Please assign me a workshop." These were his 2 items of priority today. A personal workshop would allow him to practice forging and complete jobs, raking up contribution points on the way. A Tang sect branch was likely hidden in the belly of Shrek Academy. Tang Wulin would have to ask Wu Zhongkong where it was. And once he had the information, he'd go and report in, settling into a hectic schedule packed full of missions for both Shrek Academy and the Tang sect. He would consolidate his 5th rank foundation while completing forging jobs for the next year, taking a slow and steady approach to spirit refining. "Please wait a moment." A while later, the clerk led Tang Wulin down a long and narrow corridor, winding and tortuous like a coiling snake, doors lining both sides. Upon closer inspection, Tang Wulin realized how similar to a tube the hall was. With every step, the clerk babbled on, reminding him of certain important details. For example, that every association had their own space, and all of the rooms on either side of the corridor were for blacksmiths of the 4th rank and up. Every workshop was soundproofed, so no matter how furiously one swung the hammer, not a peep would leave the rooms. Tang Wulin's workshop number was easy to remember, 88. Here's your workshop door card. It's free to use. If you need to buy metal or want to accept some jobs, hop by the front desk and we'll assist you immediately. Okay. I'll trouble you when the time comes. Tang Wulin entered his workshop with Yuanan in tow. It was neat and tidy, empty shelves on either sides, not a dust mote in place. Right smack in the center of the room stood a forging table. One glance, and Tang Wulin knew it was the standard type, the type that, although not as fancy as Feng Wuyu's, was what he was most familiar with. The room was bare otherwise. Each wall was forged from metal. If he didn't know any better, he could have sworn he'd stepped foot into a world of metal. Even though it's not very large, it's still good. I can consider this workshop mine from now on. Earlier, Tang Wulin had taken his monthly allotment, 10 chunks of metal. Fourth-rank blacksmiths were treated well. Although none of the 10 metals were particularly valuable or rare, they were all free. No way could he turn that down. He arranged his newly acquired metals with some of the less valuable ones from his storage ring on the hungry shelves. And with that, the workshop no longer seemed so bare. Take your pick. Tang Wulin pointed to the shelves. Yuanan returned his gesture with a blank stare. I'm not sure what I want. I need a full set of armor, so I'll just go with whatever you recommend. Tang Wulin's eyes were peppered with surprise. You want to create a full set? You're already preparing to become a battle armor master. Yuanan nodded. I think that'll be difficult since your body grows too big when you use your martial soul. Tang Wulin smiled in spite of himself. Oh right, what's your martial soul? It's so powerful. It'd make things easier if I knew. It's the Titan Giant Ape, Yuanan replied after hesitating for a moment. Titan Giant Ape? Tang Wulin's eyes popped. Of course he had heard of it before. The Titan Giant Ape was known as the king of the forest, royalty among soul beasts. But this was the first time he met someone with it as their martial soul. So what do you think? Yuanan asked. Tang Wulin pondered for a moment, gears whirring in overdrive in his mind. Spirit-refined metal would be best for you. That'll allow you to merge your armor with your body and accommodate you no matter how large your transformation. In today's lesson, my class's teacher said battle armor is meant for the martial soul to wear. So, one word battle armor can't really be counted as true battle armor. In any case, I'm too unfamiliar with how battle armor is made and don't know if one word battle armor can transform along with your martial soul. It can, Yuanan said. But the crafting process is very complicated. Alright, how about you just refine a highly ductile metal for me? Again, Tang Wulin delved deep into his thoughts. Then you'll want the same metal as my hammers. Heavy silver. It's extremely ductile and is considered one of the best mid-grade metals. As for making the armor, you'll have to find a mecha designer and maker. Alright. Refining heavy silver was a walk in the park for Tang Wulin. As Yuanan was his first customer since coming to Shrek Academy, Tang Wulin allowed him to stay and watch. Several strikes of the hammer later, a silver light shot out from the metal, leaving Yuanan gasping for his words. Why you're too fast. You're getting quite the deal this time. It's 1000 refined with spirit, so it's first grade 1000 refined. Don't you think 1000 contribution points is too cheap for something like this? Yuanan carefully accepted the heavy silver and put it away, nodding. It's cheap. I'll tell you a secret about Shrek Academy if you'll agree to continue forging for me at that price. Done. Tang Wulin agreed to the bargain immediately, heart thumping in beat with the palpable anticipation in the room. I'm going to want you to answer a few more questions about working students also. Throw in those answers and I promise to continue forging 1000 refined products for you at that price. This deal is only for you though. Deal, Yuanan happily said. Tang Wulin perceived from Yuanan's tone that he was selling his 1000 refinement for cheap this time, but information could make or break newcomers like him. Besides, Yuanan was only one person. He couldn't possibly need too many 1000 refinements. The Academy purchases first-grade 1000 refined metal for a minimum of 2000 contribution points. The corner of Tang Wulin's mouth began twitching. But the working student 1,000 refining jobs rewards are all 1,000 points. That's because you haven't joined the Blacksmiths Association yet. Aren't the fees only 5% now that you've joined? Apart from us working students who are required to accept a few missions every month, no one will bother with the jobs given by the administration. You'll only get cheated if you do. Tang Wulin said, okay. I get it now. It's a good thing I didn't find out too late. So I want to ask you, is there some secret about working students? Why do people act strange when they find out I'm a working student? That's because working students are freaks, Yuan answered bluntly. The academy usually accepts any person who doesn't pass the exam but performs spectacularly in one area as a working student. Well, those with extraordinary qualities are admitted as working students too. For example, that elder phone you met earlier used to be a working student. Relying on his blacksmithing talent, he graduated from the outer court at the age of 34. But in that same year, he succeeded at soul refining and broke into the 7th rank, becoming a saint blacksmith. The academy made an exception for him, the youngest saint blacksmith on the continent, and accepted him into the inner court. Then his cultivation soared. He rose from 6 to 9 rings in 20 years. He became a title dolor and an 8th rank saint blacksmith. He's the greatest blacksmith of Shrek Academy and holds an exalted position. Working students created a precedent of reaching to the top. In the eyes of ordinary students, working students are unpredictable and absolutely must not be offended. The chances for graduating working students to enter the inner court is 30%, much higher than ordinary students. Naturally, we're under a lot more pressure than them too. The academy established the working student system for those who excelled in one particular field, but didn't meet the criteria for admittance. But now, after many generations of working students, these 2 words alone are enough to demand respect from ordinary students in the outer court. Tang Wulin finally understood why the administrator had told him not to bring shame to the working students that day. So then, Elder Cai wasn't punishing us by making us working students. Do you have any other questions? Yuan asked. Tang Wulin said, I still have a question. You're so strong, so why haven't you entered the inner court yet? How old are you? I'm 15 years old. I entered Shrek Academy when I was 12. As for why I haven't entered the inner court yet, I can't tell you. It's a secret. A trace of loneliness flickered in Yuan's eyes. All right, if you don't need anything else, I'm leaving now. I still need to finish my own tasks. Oh right, I'm a 3rd-rank mecha designer. If you need any designs in the future, come find me and I'll give you a discount. Tang Wulin smiled. Not for free. Yuan stared at him. Free? Shrek Academy advocates a system where the more work you put in, the more you benefit. In order to gain something, you have to pay the price. Fine, stop being so serious. Let's go. We're going the same way, so I'll leave with you. Tang Wulin had gained much this outing. Joining the Blacksmiths Association would make his life much easier, that is, providing him with the means to feed himself. You got what you wanted, so don't forget to treat me to dinner. You're such a glutton. Yuan gave him a helpless look. They left the school building and walked back to their dormitory. Just as they exited the forest, however, Yuan raised his head and stared into the distance. Tang Wulin noted Yuan's sudden stillness. He also looked in the same direction. A person sat on the edge of the forest, his body turned to face the dormitory. The man wore the green uniform of Shrek Academy, his golden hair neatly combed back. Tang Wulin thought he looked a bit familiar. Yuan stopped walking. At the same time, the golden-haired man also noticed them and turned his head. Tang Wulin instantly recognized him. Isn't he the rich kid from yesterday who bought out the drink shop because he wanted a girl's number? He also had the angel martial soul, right? Seeing Tang Wulin and Yuan, the man stood up and strode over. Have you two seen a red-haired girl here? Actually, does a red-haired girl live here at all? The man stared at them arrogantly, his mere presence stifling to others. He's still looking for that fallen angel girl? Tang Wulin's heart thumped. That's right. Didn't she say she was a working student as well? He subconsciously turned toward Yuanan. As a second-grade student, Yuanan knew more about working students. Besides, this Yu Jingyu man was also a second-grade student. The fact that he didn't recognize Yuanan was puzzling. Yuanan looked at Yu Jingyu with indifference. I don't know anyone like that. Please move out of the way. Not waiting for his reply, Yuanan began walking forward. Yu Jingyu's eyes flashed. I've already waited half a day, but I've only met you two working students. Now, you say you don't know anything. He raised a hand to push Yuanan in the chest. Yuanan's expression instantly darkened. An imposing aura burst forth from his body, and he rammed Yu Jingyu with his shoulder. Astonishment flickered in Yu Jingyu's eyes. He hadn't been in Shrek Academy for long despite being an outer court student. If not for his clan's requirements, he would have entered the inner court long ago. He had been forced by his clan to go into seclusion to awaken his martial soul immediately after being admitted, so he started straight in the second grade upon completion. This was why he didn't recognize Yuanan. Facing Yuanan's attack, he also lowered his shoulder to ram into Yuanan's. Tang Wulin retreated 2 steps. He didn't want to become collateral damage. As Tang Wulin expected, the aftermath of their collision resulted in Yu Jingyu being sent flying. A burst of radiance later, wings unfurled behind Yu Jingyu's back and he fought to steady himself in mid-air. Finally, his body righted itself. Yet, tremor still ran down his right shoulder. Though the holy angel martial soul was formidable, its strength did not lie in power. When facing the tyrannical might of the Titan Great Ape, a soul beast whose mere punch could cause shockwaves, even Tang Wulin wasn't confident in his strength. It would take all of his bloodline power for Tang Wulin to contend against Yuanan. If Yu Jingyu were fine after receiving such an attack, it would be strange. You? Fury blazed in Yu Jingyu's eyes. This video will end here.